Welcome back. Today we're going to be covering a video by Trey Melvin on the subject of the word nigger and how white people should not say it.
Hello, beautiful people.
Alright, Treacle.
Alright, so I'm just going to hop right on into this. Dear white people, PewDiePie, whatever the fuck Banks, every white YouTuber and or white person who like to defend other white YouTubers and or white people after they slip up and or willingly say nigger and or nigga. And I hate to say it, but I gotta send a carbon copy to non-black people of color as well. Your opinion of the N-word and how and when it should and should not be used does not fucking matter.
You know, I think you're selling this a tad short. Let's go balls deep on this and say that white people's existence just doesn't matter. On a more serious note though, no one race, no one religion, no one whatever group or ideology or anything, no one something owns a word unless it has an actual trademark on it. Even then though, they don't really own it.
Okay. And I just can't believe that we're a couple months away from 2018 and I still have to exhaust my precious energy and sit my black ass here and explain to you why. But if I don't, who will?
I'm just going to insert a small clip from a BBC Three video that there was a tiny piece of that I happen to agree with regards to the word nigger and who should or should not be allowed to say it, even though the BBC managed to splice it up and interject it with someone else who then was saying he used the word with his black brothers.
And he was like, oh, but it's like brother, innit? No, it's not to me. I think whether you're black or white, you shouldn't use it.
Just a generous heads up to white people and non-black people of color who obviously think that this is a simple issue to attack. My commentary on this subject matter is going to be very long. Because it's very long, I'm going to separate it into two part.
Okay, so as this patronizing dipshit is going to start talking to his audience as if they're idiots, or the white portion of his audience as if they're idiots, I'm going to remind you that this is the same dipshit that said a homeless white man had more power in his skin than he ever would. A guy with millions of subscribers and hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank. But that privilege though, right? And before you explain what each part of the videos are going to consist of, I don't like this idea that you're already putting the one word to rule them all on a pedestal, much like in Harry Potter with Voldemort's name being one that scares people. I don't like this idea that a word should exist that people should be ashamed of hearing or be scared to utter, and yet it happens quite often with other words in certain contexts. Nigger being one that supersedes all of it, especially when some condescending little twerp like you is explaining to your audience how white people are the devil.
Part 1 will consist of how your use of the term nigga disenfranchises my black ass. And part 2 will consist of the linguistic and pragmatic use of the term nigga. Big words being used here, I know.
Considering the word's origins and its actual meanings, I think you using it disenfranchises just as much as it does for white people using it. And if that is the case, then surely it would be simpler if no one used the word. Or am I being too sensible here?
Let's begin. Part 1. Quick question, white people and non-black people of color. How many of you are in any way, shape, or form affected by the terms nigger and or nigga?
I bet the number of people that felt their skin just go, oh, guilt, was overwhelming. Note the sarcasm.
Your use of nigga makes me feel unsafe. It makes me feel as though I am in danger. Whether or not you mean to inflict harm using the term, I still feel that way. My black ass still feels that way. Black people still feel that way.
So here you actually raise an interesting point, and one I'd like to spend a bit of time talking about. First thing we need to establish is, why does the word scare you? The answer is obviously because of American history, where black people were just treated like absolute shit. This is something that happened around the world and still happens to this day, but we'll focus on this because it's pertinent and relevant to this video. When a white person utters the word nigger or nigger, it shouldn't scare you though. You shouldn't allow that to frighten you, because by doing so you are assuming the worst in that person. When you treat a white person as if they are racist for saying it, but are okay when a black person says it to you, considering where the word comes from to begin with, or certainly how it was popularized during the time of black slavery being the in thing. And I was right when I earlier referenced Voldemort and he who shall not be named. As Dumbledore put it, fear of the name increases fear of the thing itself, but for you it's selective, which if anything is baffling. It really is 5 to 6 letters, and that to me is astonishing, that only that is enough to scare you when uttered by someone with a lighter skin tone.
Your use of nigga validates the white man who owned and raped my great-grandmother in Mississippi, who gave birth to my biracial grandfather, who created my mother.
Wait. As god-awful as it was what your ancestor went through, and I honestly agree that is absolutely disgusting, you indicated biracial. That means you're not as black as you could possibly be. I'm not entirely sure your black credentials permit you to use that dreaded N-word.
It validates the high school and college education that my grandparents were not fortunate enough to receive simply because the color of their skin was a little too dark.
It does not validate that at all. Now you do reel off a list of things that it validates, including your arrest and how you were mistreated, how your mother was mistreated, and so on. All of which, disgusting, does not validate the use of a word. It really doesn't. All it does is show to me how shitty your country was. And I don't know enough about your arrest to truly comment on that. You proclaim innocence. That's all you do.
It validates Google's ability to take money out of my pocket, to refuse to pay me for my time, to demonetize this video and 100% of my videos that address my pain, that address injustice, because it's too controversial, because it isn't brand friendly.
You what? How on earth does it validate Google? Google, who have hit everyone in every major genre and are about to do it again. You are not being singled out because of your race, if that's what you're thinking. You have to be such a colossal narcissist to think it is in some way related to the color of your skin.
It validates every single white person that I've come into contact with since the day that I learned how to utilize my tongue, who have labeled me not black enough because I speak proper English.
I wonder if we're going to get to a single one that I agree with. So let's just skip ahead and say, I do not agree that using the word nigger or a white person using the word nigger in the presence of a black person invalidates anything you've said so far. All it does is show me how easily offended you are and how everything is about you. And you've managed to spin this well enough to include your ancestors to make it very difficult to address you and your points without denigrating them, and I want to make it quite clear what they went through is horrific and unacceptable, but in no way should you use that as a shield to make a totally worthless point. I have just cut out 2 minutes of him explaining what it invalidates or validates, and this part was the best of it. Thank you, Trey. Continue with what it now validates.
You sit there and you use the term and someone corrects you and you scream at the top of your white and non-black people of color lungs, but I'm not a racist, 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 but I'm not a racist. And I am absolutely convinced that none of you actually know what racism is. White people's definition of racism is hurt feelings instead of what it actually is, which is the systematic destruction of an ethnic group.
Damn. By that logic, the white nationalists have a point. I don't like it when the white nationalists are made to have a point. It means I have to talk about them, and I don't want to.
Fuck your hurt feelings.
That's right. Really drive your point home with smug smarm pomp and arrogance. Oh, and attacking another race by telling them to fuck their feelings, all the while spending the majority of this video bleating on about how your feelings are hurt. All the while claiming that it's not about that at all, it's about the real definition of racism, which you only touched on once.
You sit there offended when black people ask you not to use the term, and it is simply mind-boggling. When the fuck did this become about you?
Do you really think that's what's going on? Like when a white person immediately jumps on it and says they're not racist, that they're trying to turn the conversation into them? Or do you think they're trying to defend themselves before they are publicly chastised, humiliated, and ostracized for a slip? Whether that slip is horrific or not, or whether or not it is in fact an accident or not doesn't seem to matter. I think your narcissism, I think you're transferring it onto someone else temporarily. It's quite astonishing. And why these very long pauses? I mean, I do it when I record, but I'm smart enough to remove them.
Why is everything about you?
You don't do much self-reflection, do you?
Black people cannot police what you should and should not say when we are not around. But when we are around, please stop telling us what we should and should not be offended by, what we should and should not be affected by, when you and your humanity are in no way, no shape, and no form affected yourself.
Why are you trying to police anyone, Melvin? And why are you trying to police people when you probably can't even accurately identify whether they're white or not? If I gave you a picture of me, or if I met you in person, I'm absolutely certain you wouldn't be able to tell what kinds of white I am, let alone the fact that there's native in my background. But you're going to tell me what I can and cannot say? Get fucking real, son.